Cheers, my dear.
Cheers, darling.
This is called a Miles from the Mainland.
Ooh, that's delicious. All right, let's start recording.
That feels like it might have a little sesame in it, too. How weird.
I don't know anything about the sesame, other than it must open and also is good on foods.
It is true. Speaking of foods, Carl Strauss has started our...
They started our chicken wings?
They did.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Say
Hello,
hi
friends.
in the chat room. We know we're going to have a smaller turnout today because this is not exactly a summer tentpole blockbuster. So
But we're going to pick one of those.
We are, yeah. But those of you who are showing up to chat today, guess what? You're going to get it to help us pick the next movie. Hello, Brittany. Hello. And we got a few people.
Hey, Brittany. Hey, Nelson.
Oh, gosh.
Nice to see you
Hello,
guys.
everyone in Periscope. Let's go to Maine, baby. Boom, 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 boom. Hello, everybody.
Hi,
How are
guys.
you? A bunch of people from Periscope, which means you're on Twitter and just see what's going on. We are covering a very nerdy,
Super nerdy, super fun.
thrice nerdy movie called
Hey, Dennis. Nice to see you out there.
Gamer's Hands of Fate. So welcome to our show. We're going to chit-chat about this right now. Imagine everybody who's watching college football is not interested right now, but this isn't a college football day.
This is kind of an interesting thing. We have been sort of talking about in general, also for Thursdays. Thursday is football too.
Yeah.
But so far we're just going to stay the course because it's been 6 months and people kind of know we're out here.
All right, Grace, go and hit it.
All right, you guys. This is StorySmack, a podcast about stories and storytellers in the world of pop culture. My name is A.B. Sigler, audiobook narrator and founding partner at Empty Set Entertainment.
And my name is Scott Sigler, #1 New York Times bestselling novelist, and I burn cosplayers alive because apparently it's very funny.
So crazy.
It's part of the movie. But first, here we go. All right, now, those of you who are here, we've gotten a few grumblings. I wouldn't say complaints, but a few grumblings about this movie. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back. We're going to go old school. We're going to call up the Wheel of Movies. And on the Wheel of Movies, what we do is we pick a decade, and then we pick a genre. And then you guys in the chat room get to suggest movies that fit those two parameters. And what we're looking for, if at all possible, are movies that are on Netflix and or on Amazon Prime. So if people have one of those two things, they can watch a movie and not have to pay money for it. If it happens to be all on YouTube or somewhere out live, that's fine too. But you ready, babe?
I am ready.
All right, here we go, everybody.
Hey, Leslie. Hey, Mike.
Here we go. This is... I need to get another camera going here.
Yeah.
The wheel. Let's do the spin.
Now everybody knows you have a ring light. And in this court... No, sorry. Wrong show.
We have... The decade is the 70s. The decade is the 70s. The 70s, ladies and gentlemen, the decade of influence. Is that right?
That is in American cinema. The decade of influence in European cinema is the 60s. But so many big movies that changed the face of American cinema happened in the 70s.
Hello, Ollie. Welcome from Australia. It took Nelson 3 days to finish the game.
Yeah, Nelson, I feel you.
It took us three too.
It did. It took us 3 times too. And you wanted to love it so. I wanted to love it so bad, but it was not.
All right, so here we go. Now, everybody get ready. Now we're going to go to the genre. That light is annoying. Let's turn this off real quick. There we go. Now how do we look?
You're going to look more cadaver-like.
I look the walking cadaver.
No whammies.
Oh, animated 70s? I think no. I'm calling an audible. I'm calling an audible because that's, of course, going to be one of like 4 movies.
Right, and the mama always dies.
All right, detective. Okay, guys, there are plenty of movies to choose from. A 1970s detective movie, and we would like to go for the most award-winning, biggest budget you can think of to kind of as a palate cleanser for this this erstwhile indie movie.
Hey, right. Tracy Shank, nice to see you out there.
Now, okay, introduce us to the movie. Let's rip through this.
So today, we are talking about The Gamer's Hands of Fate. It is a 2013 crowdfunded movie released by Dead Gentleman Productions, and they made their crowdsourcing funds on Kickstarter.
And of course, Dead Gentleman Productions did one of our favorite indie movies, The Gamer's Darkness Rising, back in 2008. It was a fun take on indie take on Dungeons and Dragons campaign. We did review that on an earlier Story Smack. That is in the various feeds. And in honor of Dungeons and Dragons, I wore this today.
Yay, I love this. So tell us about this. What is the Armchair Lodge?
The Armchair Lodge was my gaming group. With those of you may often see on our various streams, Rob Otto and Dan Baker. There was also Ken Moberly, Kirk Klein, Scott Christian, Jeff Rappelgee, Andy Kaiser, and several others. And so we gamed nonstop through high school. Almost every weekend we were gaming on Saturday and on Sunday. It was a fantastic way to spend time together. The whole unit is still really close. We all text each other pretty much every day. There's a group chat. I'm not going to say we're writing Shakespearean sonnets in there, but it's the boys all chatting, and it's quite wonderful. So if you guys have any ideas for movies, 70s Detectives movies, put them in the chat room. We will take a look. We can see chat from YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Nobody's on for Twitch. And even, I don't know if Periscope works for Twitch. Yes, it does. If you Periscope us, we will see your suggestion for a 70s detective movie. Let's go big budget. Let's take a look at the actors. Some of the actors.
There's so many really good options from the 70s too.
There are.
I'm so excited. Shaft is a 70s it's detective movie for sure.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch. So hopefully we'll find a really good one.
And you introduced the drink, did you not?
I did not. So we on this cast, on the StorySmack cast, we were gifted when we got married a Shaker and Spoon subscription. Shaker and Spoon is an monthly subscription box where they send you everything you need to make 4 or 3 different drinks, two versions of 3 different drinks, except for the alcohol. And that makes it easy to ship all over the United States and that sort of thing. So we don't do this on Sigler and Place because it's got a whole bunch of weirdness that they send you. So we're not going to make you guys all sign up for Shaker and Spoon. But this is called a Miles from the Mainland, and it's made with Japanese whiskey. We're using Suntory Toki, and it's got a subtropical kind of a shrub in there, it is kind of fruity and lovely, and I think a little bit of sesame. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yes. So fabulous. So that is our drink. Now let's take a look at the actors of this movie. Many of them are familiar faces from the previous one. Of course, the lead actor, Brian S. Lewis, as Cass, also Brother Silence. He was very good again.
Yeah, he's very good. I read a Reddit from 6 years ago.
Okay.
About them starting to fund this movie and some of the other things that Dead Gentleman was doing.
Okay.
And one of the things that they called Cass's, so his character is Cass, Sean Cassidy, which I love.
Yeah. I didn't know that until halfway through the movie. They were talking about Sean Cassidy. Like, I'd never heard his name before.
And they never did that in the first movie.
It screwed me up
in the Darkness Rising. They just called him Cass. But they call him the ultimately good-hearted jerk, which is, I think, a pretty good definition for his character. So obviously, if you haven't watched this movie, there are going to be spoilers about this movie. There'll be spoilers about Darkness Rising. In Darkness Rising, he was much more that like straight narrative jerk, where he just, he didn't care as long as there was a game. The game went the way.
He's the guy obsessed with winning the game.
Obsessed with winning, and he's sort of the shotgun of it, right? Like, he wants to take the chance that's going to, especially in Darkness Rising, that's going to give him the biggest chance to do the most amount of winning. And and then I think in this one, he ends up. You see a little bit more of that, like he's actually a good-hearted jerk.
But I really, that's now 2 movies I've seen this gentleman in, and for all the faults of this movie, and I will go over some of them, he is very entertaining to watch. I thought it was very good.
He's great.
The other co-lead was Trin Miller, who played Natalie, the hot gamer chick, which was a focal point of this movie.
Sure.
And she did a great job.
She did not look that hot though. She had sort of dorky normal people hair.
She did not have avant-garde crazy hair.
That's a great photo though.
Then there was Connor Marks, who swear I've seen him in stuff. He was he was new to the whole thing. That's the guy in the glasses and the fatigue coat, but he doesn't look anything like that now. And then a mainstay of Dead Gentleman Productions, Mr. Scott C. Brown, who played both Leo, the game store owner, and Flynn the Bard. So we'll show you. You will see him again shortly as we talk about the movie. Over clips of the movie and a more acting range than you would think based on his two characters that he plays.
Yeah, I think he's a great actor, and he's got that. He's got the ability to seem like he's appeared to all those people in both of these movies, but especially in the second one, and yet still kind of the father figure, I'm going to help you along, it's all going to be okay kind of character. And that's a hard thing to do that and also be part of the group.
And he had to do a little bit, he was Morpheus in this one as well.
He definitely was. Yes. Literally Morpheus in this one.
Then we had Jennifer Page, who plays both Penelope, the creator of the game we'll be talking about in a moment, that was featured in Hands of Fate, and Luster, the super hot sorceress, who is also co-played by the person playing the super hot sorceress, who also dresses in the same clothes, Gary.
Gary has had a rough time of it in Hands of Fate.
The Gary subplot went completely batshit crazy off the rails.
Too much for us.
Seth Davis says Marks was in a episode of Z Nation. Yeah, and Trin was in Captain Fantastic. So there's a lot. I mean, great.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Back to Maine. All right, so we're going to go real quick. General box office release information. Gamer's Hands of Fate is the third main film entry in the Gamer series. It takes place 3 years after the events in the Gamer's Darkness Rising. Instead of focusing on a tabletop role-playing game, in this one, in the previous two, they're basically D&D. In this one, it was centered on a fictitious collectible card game, The Romance of the Nine Empires.
So also, it is, I think, we've sort of mentioned this. It's fair to say we both love Darkness Rising. I've gamed Dungeons and Dragons twice in my life. I've mentioned that on the cast before. Scott, of course, with his gamer group.
Decades of gaming.
And Darkness Rising is a movie about a group of gamers who are doing a D&D campaign. And it's Dungeons and Dragons, and I don't know a lot about it, but I understand that there are sort of rules of engagement, but then your specific campaign, your dungeon master has a little bit of control over. And in that movie, you flip back and forth between them being humans playing the game and then them being characters. And in Hands of Fate, it's different. It's a fictitious card game, or it was at the time a fictitious card game called Romance of the Empire.
Romance of the Nine Empires.
Yeah,
and of course, based loosely on Magic, I believe.
Yeah, it looks very much like when you see
games.
the little cards on screen, they look quite a lot like Magic the Gathering. So we don't play that.
We have never been card gamers, so I think a lot of this went over our heads, having not done that. And also, I don't think you didn't need to be a D&D player to really appreciate Darkness Rising. Sure. I think they missed the boat on this one. If you're not familiar with card games and how they work, there was a much bigger gap in understanding with this particular plot. But
and I think that's
look.
Totally true. I think it's a combination of a couple of things. It's certainly that if you don't know Magic the Gathering, it was hard to sort of skin or map your experience on this card game, where I think if you had known it, it would have been better. But also, the script wasn't as tight as the first one.
Definitely not as tight.
Which happens,
So let's take another look at this gentleman, because this gentleman, that's one of his characters, and then he's also this guy. And he was so much fun to watch, being Brother Silence, the monk who's taken a vow of silence, who never ever stops talking. So this is the coolest thing about this movie to me, aside from the fact that they got it done, is they kickstarted this sumbitch, and if you guys can see this, $405,000, almost $406,000 they raised to make this movie, and you don't get that unless you do something really right, which they did with the first movie and a lot of their other YouTube web series.
Absolutely, yeah, and so this came out on. The movie itself came out on August 15th, 2013. It was premiered at Gen Con. But one of the things that they do really well is they deliver on their crowdsourcing campaigns, which I don't know if you guys are watching. There's a whole bunch of folks, me included, who have, seen a Kickstarter like, absolutely, this will make my life better, and I am 4 years later, I can't go anywhere on Earth, and finally my weekender bag is showing up, maybe. But they do really well about this. They kind of fulfill
they totally delivered. And again, you don't raise in the ballpark of $500,000 unless you have just absolute diehard fans. So
although Nelson makes a
them.
really good point in the chat room when he says, okay, 2.5 hours long is not a terribly tight script. Wow. Very nicely done. Yes. And you are completely right.
We should do a pitch meeting on this one.
Ooh, wow.
Wow. So, and then here's another fun thing. Is that they didn't make enough money on their first run, because I'm assuming they had salaries built in. They actually put out the game that somebody went through, and we apparently are not the only people who do this. As the movie's playing, it's the 15th anniversary of the Romance of the Nine Empires card game, and they
in the Gen Con
in the Gen Con thing, and they've got all the cards, they've got all the art. So we go to look it up, curious about it, and they had never existed. They made it the 15th anniversary for plot purposes, and then a game company came along and actually made the game. So now you can go buy the game.
They were involved with doing it too.
Were they?
Yeah,
that's so cool. It's so cool. And then this movie, as far as we can tell, has never been reviewed by critics until now. But over at IMDb, it's got a 6.8 rating, and it's got a 65% in Rotten Tomatoes, but only from fans. There's no critical reviews.
And some of those rules are if they're not in a theater. This didn't have an official theatrical.
Oh, is that what
release.
it is?
Some of it
but
might
now
be that.
Is that changed now though? Because now it's everybody's.
I think it may change.
So many movies are never going to have critical releases at all.
Exactly. I think it may change, and especially it may change with the new Netflix model, especially. But this is 2013. This is way before that, so it might be sort of too far in the past to get it. But I think moving forward, we're going to see more of this because people are not going to be going to the theater as much.
Yes. So for all of the knocks on this movie, and there are several, let's go over the huge factors. These guys know how to shoot a movie. They
100%.
know how to involve a lot of people. They're great at finding sets and working. They know everything about making a movie. They raised a ton of money. They bring the same cast back. Whatever they are doing, they are really entertaining their hardcore fan base. And these are all pretty amazing things. So their business plan is great. I don't think they've made a movie since then, but they do the crowdsourcing. They keep the cost of the movie down so they can, and it's a full length. This is very long feature actually. So it's not like a little short movie. They're shooting full length features. And as someone who's tried to shoot short and full length features and not being able to pull it off, very impressed.
Yeah, and the other thing is they haven't shot a full length feature since then, but they did do a web series after that. Yeah. And what's so crazy about it is we love Darkness Rising. We loved parts of Hands of Fate, and we really liked what is it called? Humans and Households.
Humans and Households
is a web series, and it's very fun.
They only did 2 episodes of it because the production costs of that were pretty. I only saw 2. Is there more?
There's more.
Fabulous. We'll watch them. And of course, one thing they did that was really smart is using Gen Con, which is a huge convention, as their sort of free set for a lot of this movie. There's a lot of scenes shot with them just walking through the corridors of Gen Con, which you can get away with on a low time and have a lot of free people just wandering around the background, and then they rented out a big hall, or they probably just ran as programming. I bet they didn't even pay for it.
Yeah, well, they certainly got permission, and they would have had to get releases and stuff like that for sure.
Dirty Harry or Magnum Force,
yeah,
nice,
for
Mike.
sure. Yeah,
but yeah, like as they said, they got permission. It's part of the programming. So when you went to Gen Con, if you were a fan of this franchise, you could go be in the audience while it was being shot and actually wind up in the movie. And they knew how to coach the crowd and everything, and it was really well done. Very good. Our dog is barking
in the background. Sorry about that. Should I go get her?
Yeah, go get her. Okay, now we're gonna take a look real quick we go to the clips. This is what they did to generate $400,000.
The game is Darkness Rising, a cult classic RPG adventure where the ending was only the beginning.
We have started.
Join your favorite group of gamers as they return again to the table to face an even greater foe, the Shadow.
This does not end here.
Grab your dice and hold on to your staffs, because this will be intense.
I'm gonna die!
The Gamers, Hands of Fate. Fan-supported, creator-distributed. Log on now to gamers3.com/Kickstarter to donate.
And of course, that's come and gone, but Very impressive. When you take care of your fans take care of you. And I think that's what they did here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the movie. Things got a little bit, is this right? Boom. There we go. So as you can see, this is not a highly polished Marvel blockbuster, but they still do a lot of stuff really well. The problems I had with this movie was they're just trying to tell way too many stories at once. The script was not nearly as tight. In the first movie, as you're following the gaming crew, as we switch over to their characters, it's still the same story. So in real life, when they're sitting around the table, they're trying to defeat the shadow and win the realm, what have you. And then they switch back and forth to their characters, and that works perfectly fine because they're telling the same story. In this one, they have so many different stories going on. There's the original group interaction, which everybody loved, winds up being a B story at best. There's the progression of Lodge and Joanna, main characters in the first movie, as they fumble through a very nerdy possible movie proposal. Then there's another love story by Cass and Natalie, with many ups and downs and misunderstandings. Then there's the story of Cass as the chosen one, there to save the gaming day and defeat the nefarious dudes. Then there's the story of the game itself, which is in its 15th year, and in this tournament, as main characters die at the tournament and Gen Con, they're taken out of the game forever, and the game's about to go through this whole change, and they're getting rid of questing in the game for reasons I can't figure out, and the bad guys want to get rid of it. I could not figure that out at all. And this
and there's that moment where who's the guy with the Morpheus character? Where he walks frustrated out of the exhibit hall, and very steaming mad, smoke coming out of it, and we never find out.
Find out what's going on there. So there's another story that probably wound up getting cut. Then there's the story that takes place in the game itself, and it's sort of breaking the fourth wall, because this is characters in the game who are characters only in the game, who are not characters in real life, and then they sort of figure out that people are playing them like a game, and they can sort of impact the people in the real world, but also not, and I can't quite figure that out.
It was a whole lot.
Then there's another love story of two characters in the game, which has a lot of betrayals and a lot of misunderstandings, and then there's Gary going insane.
I don't understand that at all.
We could not figure out at all. And this is Gary. As you can see, Gary, he's pouring gasoline over a gentleman who has no relation to it. It's just a dude in a costume. It's just a dude in a costume.
This is a tribute to Reservoir Dogs, because Stuck in the Middle with You is playing as he's doing that Michael Madsen scene, which is great, but weird. Doesn't make any sense.
It's not great. I disagree. It's also weird. It's because the movie keeps switching tone between some of the relative seriousness of the love stories and the absolute mission critical seriousness of the people trying to save the game. This is a movie about gamers trying to save a game that they love. And in the middle of this, you've got Gary kidnapping a human being in a suit. Gary doesn't know the human being. It's just a suit. It's supposed to be funny, but
pouring actual gasoline on him.
Repeated assaults. And in this... The thing is, now normally this is a movie and I'm trying to have fun and it's fun, but in the gaming space, especially in the past 3 or 4 years, the look but don't touch, don't take liberties with people.
Exactly.
When people in costumes are not toys to be played with, this is the one thing in both of these movies where it's just so tone deaf to the culture. It's shocking because they get everything about the culture, everything right, except this weird thing with Gary threatening to light another human being on fire who's done nothing to him whatsoever. It was weird.
Well, and for reasons that are not adequately explained. Like, we know that he has this mania because that orange bunny character got another show that he liked canceled or something.
That show pushed his favorite Dragon Ninja show off the air.
Yeah, it's so bizarrely tone deaf for this specific type of movie. Especially because the whole story here is the community coming together to save something they love from people who just want to make it into a money-making option, kind of thing. So
everything about both of these movies is a love letter to gamers in the gaming industry. So, I mean, I can get behind that, and it was weird that they could have found a way to anchor Gary's hatred for the character and made it independent of the person inside the suit. It would have been a very funny bit. I thought the actor did a great job, but the weird fourth level subplot in it was we had to stop the movie a bunch of times. We were like, am I missing something?
Yeah.
Is he just assaulting a random dude for no reason?
And sort of psychotically so. Like he
was
loses
crazy.
the thread
He
of
went crazy.
everything he's doing every time he sees that little orange bunny.
Yes.
And that is mind-blowing to me. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that those particular characters would allow that, even
It was
based on
very-
what we've seen over the last two movies especially. It's
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Who was that? Which one of our phones was this? All right.
I don't know, mine's downstairs, so
All right, you guys. Now, it is time for us to pick the next movie. We've gone over this movie. If you haven't watched it, we hope you get a chance to watch it. It's very fun. Some of the movies at the con are particularly delightful when you see regular con goers in the audience. If you've ever been to a con, if you've been to a Sigler Fest, you know what I'm talking about. If you've been to Dragon Con, Comic Con, Gen Con, etc., it's worth watching the movie just to watch the joy of this giant Hall A group of people getting to be part of a movie. So there's some weird stuff. There's some good stuff. But if you wind up watching the extended edition, which A and Nelson and I all did, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like that. It's incredibly long.
it's so many hours.
Peter Marsh in the comments says, it sounds like you guys are describing a David Lynch movie. If you go into this thinking this is a David Lynch
You're
movie,
going to have a much better much better experience than we did, because yes.
get intoxicated one way or another, and then turn this thing on, and then just sit back and watch the carnage. And the things that were confusing, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it all. All right, we've got some suggestions for the next movie. We got a good one: Dirty Harry or Magnum Force, which does not age well at all.
But
with all the cop difficulties right now.
Right, the French Connection is in there.
Oh, the French Connection.
The French Connection, I think think is my vote. I think
Popeye Doyle?
Nelson,
What?
I think Nelson might have recommended that, and I think it's a
I like
terrific
that.
one.
I like
but
that.
Chinatown and The Longobaya are also 1970s. Chinatown is a hugely iconic, hugely powerful script
But
in Hollywood
you know
to
what the
this
French
day.
Connection has that those other movies don't have?
Gene Hackman?
I got Gene Hackman.
I'm in for the French Connection. That's a great one.
The greatest actor of all time. Gene Hackman. That is what it is. That is what we're going to pick.
Oh,
Our
okay.
1971 movie. Let's swing on over to Second Monitor.
Sweet.
This is what we will be watching. I'm not going to play the trailer for you right now, but this is a straight up. Oh God damn it, Mike Natalie. It says Revenge of the Pink Panther.
Well, but there's also Clute. There's also The Long Goodbye. There's also Chinatown. There's so many. We may have to do more than one, but you pick this.
Look, okay, this movie won 5 Oscars. 5. So I think we are countering this indie movie with a movie that matches our Wheel of Doom and also has the greatest actor of all time and won 5 Oscars.
And I have one secret.
Shit, go ahead.
Part of one of the iconic chase scenes happens in one of the neighborhoods I grew up in, where my dad's funeral home was.
Oh my gosh, is that the big L
Yep.
thing? Or is that
Yep.
what it's called in New
Yep.
York? Is it an L?
Well, that's what it's called in the Bronx there, and my dad's funeral home was like 2 blocks east of that L.
1971 movie. Let's take a look. Oh my goodness. Now I'm not necessarily a big fan of the Rotten Tomatoes critics reviews. I think they're usually bunk, but an 87% audience score for a 1971 movie, fantastic. So this is what we'll be watching 2 weeks from now. Baby, what would the date be 2 weeks from now?
Let's find out.
All right.
Ooh, I can't believe it. We're moving into the fall for sure. Which is actually, for as much of struggle that we've had to move on to audiobook recording, it's going to be perfect because the weather is going to be great.
It's going to be great.
It's the 10th of October.
The 10th of October, we will be watching The French Connection, you guys. That can you see if that's on Netflix? We forgot to see if that's on Netflix. It might not. It's on Prime Video, though. It does look like it's on Prime Video. So that's great. So we can watch that. I think that's going to about do it for this week.
Yeah, it's on Hulu, too.
It's on Hulu. Fabulous. Fabulous. A and I are switching gears from absolute nerd-tastic fun
And
to
iTunes.
absolute iTunes. Great. It's switching over to absolute jock super fun. We're going to be watching the UFC UFC fight tonight. Adesanya and Costa fighting for the middleweight title, I believe it is.
Yeah. It's going to be
great.
the smallest fight night party that we've ever had, but we're going to get some wings and some pretzels and some
We used to
yummy stuff.
We'd spend the money on the pay-per-view, the big pay-per-views, the Conor McGregor ones, and all the other ones, and have just a ton of people come over to our place in San Diego. But can't do that this time. So I think it's time to finish. We're trying to keep
do too.
Story Smack to a half an hour, so let's finish this up.
Okay, so we picked our new movie. We'll be back 2 weeks from today at this time, wherever you're watching. We're going to be reviewing The French Connection. And that will do it for episode 56 of StorySmack. You can find Scott and myself online. Scott is at Scott Sigler on Twitter and Instagram, and his Facebook page is facebook.com/Scott Sigler. I'm A Real Girl on Twitter and a.real.girl on Instagram.
You can find us online at facebook.com/StorySmack. You can watch us stream StorySmack live, of course, wherever you're watching it now, including facebook.com/Scott Sigler, twitch.tv/Scott Sigler, youtube.com/Scott Sigler. So if you are hearing this in the podcast feed, we do this every other Saturday. We do it live. You guys can watch us, participate in the chat room, have a good time. We would love to have you join us on the live stream 2 Saturdays each month.
And in addition to this StorySmack that you're watching right now, we do a twice weekly live stream during this global pandemic called Sigler in Place. It is every Tuesday and Thursday right here where you're watching this at 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Yes, and I release an unabridged episode of a full-length audiobook. I do it, a serialized audiobook. I do it every single week. I've done it every week for 15 friggin' years. You can get these episodes for free every Sunday via iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. Just go to scottsigler.com/subscribe. That is scottsigler.com/subscribe for the links.
And you know, we love you. We hope you subscribe so that you can hear Scott's books, you can hear Sigler in Place, you can hear more StorySmack goodness in the future.
Until the next episode, ladies and gentlemen, we will talk to you all real soon. Oh, hold on. I got to get the kiss. I got it.
We don't normally do the kiss on the
we don't?
on the StorySmack. Just a Sigler in Place. I was just...
Hey, Jeff Yoakum says, my face lettuce is filling in nicely just for men, baby. I just dyed it up today. It's getting a little gray going right here, and I'm like, not today, sister. I'm going to get that beautiful brown cooking, a little red tinge to it. Yeah. Looks good, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you in 2 weeks. Watch The French Connection. You will not be disappointed. Trust me,